Welcome to another meeting with Westwood Rec. It is Monday, October 17th. The time is 7:06, and we are going to get the meeting started for the month of October. So call to order public comment. Is there any public comment?
There was no one in the waiting room at this time, Sheila.
Great. Okay, consent to the agenda. So the agenda, we have 2 months, I believe. Right, Katie, we have September and August
So
modifications.
Sheila, before we do that, the first thing we want to do is we just want to vote to.
Oh, you're right. Okay. All right. So vote for the consent to the agenda. I
I'll
need
make
a
a
vote.
motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Fuad. Okay, so in favor, Katie.
Yes.
In favor, Paul.
Yes.
In favor, Teresa.
Yes.
And Mitch in favor.
Why not? No, yes.
And I am in favor. So, okay.
I
so
think
with
I
that-
have to vote even though I made the
Oh,
motion.
sorry.
but
That's,
yeah,
that's correct, Dan.
and Paul.
Yep. But
Okay.
I'm in favor.
Okay, and was it Katie that seconded?
I think.
No,
Okay.
quad.
Fuad. Okay, Fuad.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Are you officially with us now, Fuad?
I am. Yes.
Oh, I think we should say welcome, then officially welcome.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
welcome to our committee, Fuad.
Thank you very much.
A positive effect on our committee. All
And I
right,
can
so-
just, I can just say he was a workhorse at Westwood Day, so.
Ah,
I try.
thank you.
Paul,
perfect.
are we pronouncing your name correctly?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so with that approval of the minutes, we approved the August and September. Now we're going to move on to the monthly report.
No, so we need to approve the minutes. So there's there's a nuance here. So we approved the minutes last time, and then after we approved them, Paul asked for one change. So we need to, they've been changed. So we need to reapprove the minutes from August, and then we'll approve the minutes from September.
So we're going to have 2 votes now.
Correct.
Okay, ready? So we're going to do the first one is August. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve them.
Paul and Teresa's going to second it. So Ann, are you in favor?
I am.
Katie, you in favor?
Yes.
Fuad, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mitch, you in favor?
Yes.
Teresa, you in favor?
Yes.
Paul, are you in favor?
Yes.
I'm in favor, and Ann, are you in favor?
Yes.
Okay, so then now we've approved the August. Now we're going to approve the September. I need a motion to approve September.
I motion to approve September.
Perfect. Anyone second?
I can second it.
Okay, Ann seconding. All right, so I'm going to go through again. Katie, you in favor?
Yes.
Fuad, are you in favor?
Yes.
Paul, are you in favor?
Yes.
Mitch, are you in favor?
Yes.
Teresa, are you in favor?
Yes.
And Ann, are you in favor?
Yes.
And I am. So with that, we're all approved for the 2 months of the minutes. So now we're moving on to the monthly report, right, Rich?
Yep.
Okay,
So does anybody have any questions about the monthly report? Have you had a chance to review it? We've been trying and we've been working with the team to get these to you a couple days earlier than what had been happening a while back. Hopefully you appreciate that. Give you a little bit of chance to review it in advance.
yep.
Any questions? I have a couple of comments, but just if there's anything that you guys have about it that you saw after reviewing it.
I have one quick question about, just because you mentioned how we added in this fall the tennis lessons and all of those things, but I also know the weather hasn't been in favor for all the tennis lessons. How far are the tennis lessons going to be pushed out? I think is it 2 weeks now, or does it depend on the day?
Well, yeah, so we'll push them out as long as the weather permits for any program. You know, I'll be honest with you, the pickleball has been the most affected. I think it's rained every Monday in the past.
Is there any way you could bring the pickleball indoors since you're at Downey? Because you can do pickleball inside at the gym.
If we can get the gym space, that's the biggest challenge. Is that so we're in the process of planning for winter pickleball where we use the Deerfield gym. And so if we can get in, we will. And that's not the easiest thing to do. Gym space is at a premium. So.
Huh. Too bad.
And,
Yep.
Okay. Anything you want to do your comments, Rich?
Yeah, sure. So I just wanted to point out, and this is just, I don't have a big update this month, and because this is a long-term project. It has to do with the inclusive programming, right? And I just, as a follow-on to recent discussions, we are sticking to the strategy that I've laid out, that we've been working with other towns in cities to understand how they're delivering inclusive programming. The behavioral specialist that is working for us part-time, and I have had conversations with Lexington and with Burlington. While I was away last week, we had Jill had another one, and we have another one scheduled this week. So that process is underway, and I've also recently had conversations with a consultant who helps town deliver this type of programming as well. And so I just wanted to just give you a brief update that work is continuing. A lot of it will be, within the department and working with various resources. And once I have something substantial, of course, I'll bring it to the committee when the time is right. Okay.
Rich, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You finish. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so the last time we talked about, I don't remember if it was last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we talked about the possibility of forming a subcommittee. I've done some research with that as well. And I think it was Rania, Paul, and Teresa that wanted to do that. And that's fine if that's something that you'd want to do. The one thing that I would just suggest and for you to consider is that, and again, not exactly sure what you want to do, how you want to go about it. But working with these other towns, we're reaching out to them and we're doing that a lot of that work. And again, I'm happy to share it with you. In fact, we're creating a matrix that I'll be able to share with you eventually. They are giving their time to help us with this. And I just want to avoid redundancy and overburdening them. But again, you're certainly welcome to do as you see fit. But I just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah. So my comment was just pretty much about that, Rich. I think more of it was what the suggestion that came up from everybody, I think, was to help you, to help the department and have someone from the commission helping you out, because we can't offer. We'll probably look to you to say, okay, this is what we need you to do, and I think that's again, I don't know what it is, so
yeah.
I'm not. I don't know.
This whole thing is going to be a journey, Paul, and we're learning. Like I said, I met with the consultant actually this afternoon, and we talked through some of the things that she might be able to do with us. There's a cost associated with it, so we're going to have to put that into the mix and figure out where we can use her. And we have other resources as well. So right now and for the foreseeable future, it's a lot of fact gathering as we figure out, how we're going to proceed with this. Go ahead, Teresa.
I might be mistaken, but I had it on my calendar. Was it this past weekend, the first weekend where the inclusive programming actually kicked off?
Yesterday that did, yes.
And have we received any feedback from either the people running the program or families who participated maybe in left?
No, I talked to Joe briefly about it this morning. Joe was there. I couldn't be because I was in Michigan. It went well, especially if this is the first time we've been using this contractor. And, I would say that it had its challenges, but it went well overall. And we'll see how it proceeds throughout, the season.
Hey, day one's a win. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, we're glad that it kicked off, and It's not uncommon that not everybody shows up for this type of programming, and we did have a few people that were registered that did not show up. And from the feedback we got from the coaches, that's not uncommon. So,
Awesome, thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
All right,
ready to move on?
Yeah, so yeah, that was really the main point from the monthly report that I just wanted to touch upon real quick, just to assure you guys that we're still moving forward on this.
Perfect. Okay, so now we'll move on to commission member report.
Yep.
So Teresa, I see you're on here, activities for middle school ages and grades.
Yeah, so I was at the library a lot the past 3 weeks or so, dropping up books, bringing my kids in to grab stuff. And I knew this was going to happen. I didn't realize to this extent, a massive influx of middle schoolers. And I was saying to the librarian, I'm like, oh, wow, it's great. They're all using it. They go, well, it's kind of like they're here till they get kicked out. And so I was just wondering, because I'm only going into my second year here, or has there been any middle school programs offered at any success, or has there been any like after school? It's just like, I've been in other towns, they have like a skate park where they let the middle schoolers, and it's like meet up at that time, like it's homework and skating, or homework and outdoor, rollerblading, hockey or something. There's like a homework component followed up by a basketball clinic or something, right? And I was just talking to a bunch of friends who live over on that kind of part of the town from the middle school to the library. They said, you see the kids froggering across the street, going from Starbucks, but then they cut their hours to prevent the middle schoolers from going in there. The library, Carmela's, Will, the barber shop, like Dunkin' Donuts, like they're just kind of like playing Frogger. And a few times I've heard like skid on the brakes because they didn't realize one of the middle schools was trying to get to the other side of the street, and
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous. And it's just like, I'm just wondering, before I look around or talk, has Park and Rec had ever middle school programs after school or opportunity for middle school? I know the middle school has things, but not every kid's doing that. I'm just wondering, is there something that we could maybe pull for them?
So we, a couple of years back, we tried to get some middle school programs going with very little success. We're in the process, as I just mentioned, of planning for the winter. And Joe is working on putting together a couple of programs to see if we can get them to go. They're not necessarily homework and something. One of the programs that is a sort of a passion of Joe's is to create some kind of a leadership program where people get around and they'll go and they'll talk about various subjects and what have you. Part of the thing that we would like to do is try to build a core group of kids who will look forward to being counselors for us someday, as they get a little bit older as well. So that's something that Joe's trying to put together. This year, we're also starting in the winter. Our camp director, CJ, is going to be doing some programs with us, and he is a science teacher in the middle school. So we're hoping that will be a connection that will draw some of his students in. So we're trying. We've tried before, and but we haven't given up. We're going to try again. And the idea of homework and program, I'll float that by Joe to see, maybe that's something that he can do. But CJ has a bunch of really cool ideas, and whether they make it in for winter, I think some of them will. If not, certainly spring.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, now Katie, you're up with Sheehan Courts.
I just wanted to bring up the possibility just to see if there's, I know a while back we had talked about using that as a spot to create pickleball courts. And I know that the expense for that was extravagant. And I understand that the town necessarily doesn't want to do anything with the possibility that the Sheehan courts would get ripped up if Sheehan is rebuilt. But I think the rebuilding plan for Sheehan is anywhere between 5 and 7 years away from even starting, maybe even like conversations. So I didn't know if there was any possibility of not just I'm not looking for anything extensive. There doesn't need to be any leveling. There doesn't need to be any like lines painted, or I guess this kind of ties into Teresa's thought of what would happen if we just resurface that blacktop. Do something kind of cheap. Just give it a space where the school could use, the kids in the town could use, kids could go there and they could skate, they could play soccer. People could bring their own lines if they wanted to play pickleball. Just do something to kind of clean up the area to make it usable for the next 7 years until we know what's going to happen.
Here.
Agree with you, Katie.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned that before, right? Maybe
Yeah.
Paul?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's been discussed, and again, I floated the idea. There was very little interest in spending any money on that. If anything, it would be to tear it right out and just plant grass.
Yeah, the only thing I think that my personal issue is the fact that it looks like hell.
Mhm.
You know, and it looks like people see it's tennis court, you know, oh my God, what is that? What is that monstrosity? And it's tennis courts with grass growing out of it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it as a reflection on the town, it's not a good show.
I think this is a great idea, a cheap flat top, let it be used, because right now it's being used for nothing. And for 5 to 7 years, a cheap flat top. I think we should take some action, meaning this is our recommendation, something to think about, maybe not right now, that our commission recommends that this be done. It's not a big budget item. And if the selectmen say no, then at least we've tried and it's on record that they're saying no. I mean, I'd want to take a step up and say, hey, pave the thing and let's make it usable. And if you don't want, then make that recommendation. And if the powers that be say no, then, you know, it's beyond our, jurisdiction, so to speak. But I think we should, it's a no brainer. Let's get something there for the next 5 to 7 years, for, 25 grand, whatever. I don't know what the cost is, but
Double.
that'd be good.
Double to 50.
More
Would
than that.
would DPW know, like with the cost that's involved to flat top it, like a quick fix?
Yeah, so I looked into that a year or two ago, and I know that Ken Aries did something similar for the tennis courts, which weren't in nearly as tough a shape as that. And I want to say it was like between 40 and 50,000 at the tennis courts at Sheehan. I mean the basketball courts at Sheehan.
What was that for, like painting lines and doing the fence?
It was the flat top, just the having them paved.
What about the capital improvement plans? Like I know Downey just had, or the Downey neighborhood, Hawktree and Downey Street were just completely all repaved, right? And while that was being done, someone called in to the school committee and said the upper and lower playgrounds at Downey really need to be paved. And since the equipment was there, it got done.
Oh.
So I'm just wondering, I mean, there has to be a capital improvement plan of when they're gonna be repaving parts of town, right? I feel like every summer, some section of town is getting repaved and we're all getting redirected, which is fine, it needs to get done. We look at the capital improvement plan and see if and when, I'm assuming probably soon, they're gonna have some type of machinery in that area and see if we can kind of tack on being like, hey, since you're there, like, your driveway's done, when one person gets their driveway done, if they kind of start knocking door to door, and it's like, oh, we all need to.
Yeah.
I just think it's such a huge piece. I'm sorry?
Especially with Todd's kids going to Sheehan.
Yeah.
That might be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I'll talk to him. I'll talk to him and see if that's possible.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, is this something that we collectively as a group would want to recommend to the select board?
I would.
I think that's a good idea. Let's go on record. If we support it, it doesn't have to be now, but let's put it on the record that we recommend this, and then they can do it or not. We can't force them to do it.
Yeah, and if they could look into it, like I thought Teresa's idea was great with the, when they happen to be in the area anyway, maybe it would be more cost effective.
Because the majority of the bulk of the cost is just getting the equipment there, like getting it on the trucks, getting the stuff there. So I know.
So how about if I do this? How about if I talk to Todd and see based on what you just said, and get his opinion as to what that would entail, if that's feasible or not. And then next time, if you want to, and you're certainly welcome to do it now. I'm not trying to dissuade you, but if you want, next time you can vote based on what I bring back from Todd.
All right, perfect.
I think that's a great idea, Rich, because we're not gonna have a chance anyways before the winter to get this. But this is not gonna happen
Yeah.
before the winter, so that's being realistic.
Yeah.
So we'll have time to discuss it at the next meeting for sure. That's a great
Okay.
idea.
We'll do that.
I wish we thought about this 2 years ago.
We have new members, new
Only
ideas,
kidding.
fresh ideas.
Lots of sarcasm in that one.
There's a lot of sarcasm in that one right there.
I
Thank
know.
you.
I know.
I'll keep knocking at the same door.
That's it. I know. I'm there. Let's keep doing this. Let's keep knocking.
All right, Paul, now you're on with pickleball.
Nope, it's me again.
No,
Sorry.
Katie's
Oh, no,
still there.
it's Katie, after school program. Sorry, Katie.
Sorry, it's me again. I just want to bring up, kind of, I guess, similar also to what Teresa said, but I don't know if you have heard about the lack of help that they've been able to find for the extended day program and in the elementary levels. There's a lot of kids or families that don't have childcare for, I'm one of them. We didn't get into the extended day program because they don't have enough people to hire for the amount of people who wanted to get in. So we're going to be joined right now by my son. I'm so sorry. He's coming all over me, way past his bedtime. So that being said, I know that there is an area, there's like a void here, wondering if that's something that we could fill. And I know that their rec department does offer some programming. I think it's at Deerfield, right?
That's right.
Right.
Mhm.
I didn't know if that at all could be extended, probably not this year. It's too late to do that, but for upcoming years, and then starting to think about the town's conversations around changing the high school start time.
Yeah.
If the high school start time gets pushed back, they're going to lose even more people to support the after school extended day program, which would be actually longer for elementary students because their day would possibly start sooner and end earlier. So they would lose high school kids volunteering. They're also going to lose high school kids that go home and take their siblings off the bus. So there's going to be even more families looking for after school childcare. And I just wanted to bring it up as an option for the rec commission to think about. It's a big topic. So I just wanted to kind of bring it to your attention.
Can you also tap into this, Katie, for a minute? I know that each PTO, to some extent, I know Downey's done it. I'm almost positive every PTO has tried to do this. They try to do an enrichment program or an after school something. Typically, it would be like different days, like cooking with the cafeteria person, and it was like they'd find a parent who was an astronomer. I can't even speak tonight, and have them do like star projects, all these things. And parents have tried to get in as cutthroat, and then you have parents who are paying for after school support as well as these enrichment programs. And so I definitely think there is a need. I definitely think there's a way of doing this. And I can say this without a hesitation. When we had half day Wednesdays and like our program was at Downey, I loved it. My kids didn't have to leave the building. They could go right off. I wasn't picking them up and shuttling them off to another place just to come back in 2 or 3 hours to come back, get them. I had like a continuous, average school day on those days I did those programs. But a lot of parents who were from other buildings were picking their kids up and bringing them to the program building that the program was taking place in. And so I love the fact that Park and Rec has offered after school programs in some capacity. I just think that, especially with Deerfield, Hanlon soon combining, it does have to be at each building. I can see specialized programs being at certain buildings. You could choose to locate your child to that location, but I think each building does need to have some sort of enrichment after school option, because it's going to get pretty cutthroat pretty quick if these hours do change, as well as with the changing of the schools.
So Teresa, you're saying that to have people from rec, hire people from rec to be at each school to do an after-school program. Is that what your statement is?
Well, if I was going to tag on what Kay said, I would almost have kind of like we have in the school system. You have your chairperson for whatever subject that is, and they kind of oversee. So reaching out to each cafeteria team and saying, would you be interested in doing a cooking class 1 day a week? And having that second person, and then kind of like divvying out to each building what the opportunities would be.
All right, so again, you're saying to have rec reach out to the individual instructors at each school to see if they're willing to run a program. You're asking rec to fund that.
Yeah,
Okay.
people paying.
So,
Correct.
yeah.
So,
I have
so
a,
can I jump in here?
Yeah.
sure,
So the schools that run extended day don't allow us to run programs in those, which is
Right.
why we stopped at Downey.
Oh, is that way? Okay.
Because they started one at Downey and they didn't want us there. So, so we are at Deerfield, because they don't have one. They go over and combine, I guess, with Hanlon, from what I understand.
Okay.
So that's the only school that we can run our programs out of.
Oh, wow. I know that.
Yeah.
I think this might be worthwhile talking to the school committee about, because I think they realize how dire the need is for childcare. Things have changed, I think.
Yeah, so Katie, let me just finish the other half of this, okay? So they're hiring from the same pool of people that we would be hiring.
right, exactly.
Okay? So the second challenge is that there's multiple challenges. We're running as many programs as we can right now. And we have historically had a difficulty during the school year hiring people to run programs. There's just not enough staff, as much as we like to. When we poll all of our summer staff to who would like to work during the school year, we're lucky if we get one or two during the school year. That's not to say that we can't continue to try, and we will. But they're hiring from the same group of people that we would be hiring from. So the challenge is going to be space and our ability to hire the same people that the school is hiring to run those after-school programs. So those are the challenges. Now we're continuing to try. In fact, in this winter, we are adding, I believe, 3 more programs over at Deerfield, one more day. So the way we're looking at it is we're adding 20% more capacity, because right now we've only been doing it 4 days. We're going to add the 5th day, so for more programming. But those are the challenges that we face trying to accomplish what you do. We agree we'll run as many programs as we can get space for, and we can hire people to run.
And this would include contracting out to like Top Science, who does the
Sure.
science program at Park and Rec.
Yep.
They don't even have. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, most of the programs that we're running are already those. So for instance, we use Fast Athletics for mini sports and others. Knucklebones is another one. So yeah, we use those. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have to tread lightly on this one. I mean, if we decide, I mean, I think it's a great idea, Teresa. I mean, and Rich, you pointed that stuff out. It's just, I don't know, people just can't get people to work, or there aren't people working. I don't know what it is. I don't want to get into a political battle here about what it is,
Yeah,
but there is an issue that we have. So.
Yeah.
Right.
But we have to be careful. We have to be careful also not to overload Rich's staff and with additional programs. I get it. I have 3 kids. We want activities, and Rich sounds like the space and the help are real issues, and it's also should be addressed with the school committee and the PTOs for each of the elementary schools to get something together. So the burden is all not on Rich and his staff, but I think it should be a community effort. So we have more programs at the schools.
Mitch, that's a great summary right there, because the fact is this really a recreation initiative, or should this be a school initiative? Because there's kind of a gray area there. They're at the school, so now they're going to hand them off from the school. So the school, again, there's a lot of stuff that we have to figure out.
And a lot of the PTOs do offer other programs as well for after school activities to help the families who didn't get into extended day, or even give other families options if their child doesn't want to go to the extended day that day. But it was just something it's like, I know a few months ago we had someone join our committee, join our meeting. I can't remember her name, and she's going to be the one in charge of kind of bringing these groups together, right, Rich?
Oh yeah.
Like this might be a good thing to bring to her, to be like, why don't we get someone from like rec and some PTOs and the school committee to kind of help possibly solve this problem, because it's happening in a lot of schools. It's not, and I agree, this is not a Recreation Commission problem, nor do I think we can solve it. It was just something that I thought we could bring up to see if there was if we had any ideas.
Also, and absolutely, Katie. And so I fundamentally agree with you for what you're saying. It's just, there's a lot of challenges to accomplishing that. And we've been working towards, increasing our program. Our programming. I could actually show you, if you looked at, I recently have been pulling together some stats of the number of registrations that we took for each season 5 years ago and every year subsequent, and we're literally up 50% from 5 years ago in terms of the number of registrations for each season, up over 50 to 60%. So we've been steadily increasing our enrollment year over year, and we've seen explosive growth, especially in the past 2 years. So I hear you. I support what you're suggesting, but we need to make sure we're doing it in a responsible way so that we have the right staff, the number of staff, and we have the space. And getting space is difficult right now. Getting staff is difficult. So we have a meeting every single Monday. We just had one today, and we spent 2 hours going through what can we do, what ideas do we have, and you know, we're up against our brochure deadline, which now we'll start working on next week. So all the programs are due this week, and we'll start pulling together the brochure next week. So we have time deadlines as well. So. All right. Anything else on that one?
Okay.
So I think,
Paul, you're up.
Pickle-ball.
So this was just my suggestion, asking for an update. Of
Yeah.
course, I asked Rich if he could pretty much, maybe give a summary of what's going on here. I think we have
Sure.
some new interesting news, which is great.
So yeah, so I was hoping that I would be able to tell you that we definitively have funding at this meeting, but it was put off for a week. So hopefully at this time next week, I'll know for a fact that we have funding, not just for the courts, but for the lights. Once I know that, then we will go to Paul's other point on the agenda about, and I'm fully confident, by the way, that it's going to happen. I just can't say definitively that it has. And then from there, once I know I have funding, then we will go to procurement. Go out. It's going to be a bid, so we'll go out to bid. And at this point, where we are in the calendar, it's probably going to be something that I expect to take place next spring.
Great. Okay. So the next item is return in-person meetings that Ian and I proposed. Since half of us are new, and we were always meeting before COVID, I'm asking for us to get together so that we can see face to face and have meetings in person. Is anyone objecting to that, or?
I think we
Does
can
anyone
vote.
What does the selectmen meet in person? In other words, are all boards and commissions meeting in person now? Just curious.
Many of them are, Mitch, but not all of them. A good number of them are. I can't sit here and tell you which ones are or not, but I know from Chris that many are. In fact, I think he said that when he was in the meeting a couple of months ago. I think the August meeting, he mentioned that some are. I don't have off the top of my head which ones. I don't know, Sheila, if you know or not, but I don't.
No, I don't. Ian, do you have any idea?
No, I talked to Chris, and he told me that some are and some aren't. He didn't tell me which ones. So I just, wanted to get to meet people in person.
It just seems odd that there's no uniform policy. I mean, this is, we're all living with COVID and kind of moving on with our lives, but it's still an issue. And the town should have a definitive position with meetings, whether yes or no, and it shouldn't be up to each commission. I don't think that's a really solid policy that we have to decide ourselves, because if there's someone who has some doubts, they may feel pressured by the group to meet in person. And it was great on Westwood Day. Katie and Teresa, it was nice seeing you guys live, and we always used to meet in person. However, there is some risk. And if someone feels uncomfortable with that, do we wear masks? Do we not wear masks? Well, how much space? How much do we have to sit between each other? So I don't want to get too technical and the virus fever or paranoia, but there are issues here, and it is something that especially in the winter, we have to be careful with. So I think the town should really have either yay or nay, everyone in or everyone out, in my opinion.
Well, Chris did say if anyone felt uncomfortable, they can phone in. We cannot do a Zoom link when we're meeting in person. It would have to be a phone call. But And he said, we as a commission could vote what we want to do. And then if anyone, needs to do it via phone call, they could. So
I
it doesn't have to be an
still-
all or nothing.
Well, if someone feels that strongly about it, and it may be me, I don't think I should be excluded to have a phone conversation. But if the majority of this is a democracy, so if the board wants to meet in live and in person, then if me or someone else feels that way who doesn't want to admit it, will make their own decision based on their own personal feelings and safety.
We would need to have a quorum though. So if we didn't have a quorum of people who wanted to meet in person, then that's the answer.
It's just,
Right now,
I love you folks. I'm a people person. I mean, I'm going to be going to, my daughter plays high school basketball. I'm going to go into crowded gyms with people who aren't wearing masks. So that part of it's okay. I'm with groups. It's just the idea that this is a formal commission. There is a pandemic going on. Do we want to force people to sit in a room together who might be uncomfortable? I don't, maybe it's unsafe. I don't know. We don't know enough. But people should make that choice. If I want to go to a high school basketball game, that's my choice, and not wear a mask and sit in a crowded gym. I was kind of nervous last year, but I did it. That was my choice. But if we all vote that we have to be there, the majority rules, fine, but the minority.
Well, it's not have to. So I don't think anyone here should feel uncomfortable voting that they don't want to be in person. And if that's, what more people than not want, then we shouldn't vote. We shouldn't meet in person. I would hope people wouldn't feel uncomfortable
And I
expressing.
also think going forward, we're gonna have to come to some type of normalcy again, like we just can't. I mean, if I gave you tickets to the Patriots, you go to the Patriots. I understand that is a commission of us getting together, but if we resolve stuff when we're face to face, if I saw Katie in Roaches, I wouldn't know Katie. If I saw Teresa out and about, I wouldn't know Teresa because we're not face to face. So I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, I'll do whatever you guys want to do, but we're going to get to the point that we need to, I mean, that's what the commission was for. We need to get back to.
And there've been
working together.
technological issues, like we couldn't hear Joyce last week. That was unfortunate. I mean, I think we take a vote, and if it comes down to we've got too many people that just aren't ready, then we wait until it's mandatory.
Should we, maybe, I'm just thinking, because this is such a passionate thing. Do we want to ask the Board of Health and also kind of take get some data saying like, hey, school committee does or does not meet in person, selectmen does not meet in person, maybe get the stats of who's meeting, who is meeting in person, who's not. And then I think vote from there when we have more data. I just feel out of the respect for everybody that I'm just kind of voting off of what works for me and my gut, but I really don't know what's happening in town because, to be very honest, I just read notes. I don't call in or attend a lot of things. So would that maybe be a better sense just to see what the Board of Health is recommending and then seeing which committees are and are not meeting in person?
I think that would be helpful.
I'm just asking again.
Rich, is that something we could find out? Who's in person, who's not? Because I think that's kind of selective on the committees and.
Yeah, it's up to the
Would we-
individual committee.
Yeah, I don't think we get that information. Will we, Rich?
And ask Tish, she would probably know.
Oh, okay, okay,
I don't know if she knows. I would start with her.
okay.
My guess is she would know.
Back to Tish.
And then also, what does the Board of Health recommend? We got the monthly, I know we want to move on from this thing, but this is an official commission. It's not your choice to go to a Patriots game or a basketball game. That's your choice, which I do. But this is an official commission sponsored by a government entity. We should know what the Board of Health is recommending or not. And then,
But again, no one should feel forced to, even if we take a vote and we say, okay, we've got enough people who are comfortable, we'll get a quorum, we'll return in person. Nobody has to be there in person.
No, they really do, because otherwise it's by telephone, Ann. So that's not.
It is by telephone, yeah.
And that's not equal. That's not.
You don't want two people and the rest of them are all on telephone either, yeah.
Well, you can't hold a meeting that way. You'd have to go back to
Right.
Zoom. You need at least 4 of us, yeah. And I wouldn't do it if it was half. I wouldn't suggest we do it with half there and half on the phone, but there was the option for if someone was traveling for business that we could do it for a phone call. It's the same option.
So Rich, do you want me to follow up with Tish and you find out from the Board of Health? You want me to go to the Board of Health and I can do Tish too?
All right,
Okay.
It would
so
be good to take a
on-
vote at some time though, because every time this comes up, we never vote.
You want to take a vote now?
No, I mean, people are asking for more information, so let's get them more
So
information,
let's,
but
for the
at
next,
some point, I'd like to vote. And if it's no, it's no.
We just put the deadline as it's gonna be the next meeting, we're gonna vote, that's it.
Yeah.
well, let's get some information. So if we find out 75% of the commission, of the other committees are meeting in person, I propose that we take a vote. If we find out that 40% of them are meeting in person, there's 60 that aren't.
Maybe it's not time or, yeah.
that que-
And
Is that
also,
a-
what is the Board of Health's position officially?
Okay,
Are they saying it's safe and it's up to a commission, or what's their official position? I think we should do that to protect ourselves as a government commission. We're, okay. This isn't, the social that you're gonna go to your friend's house. You can stand as close as you want or hang out with whoever you want. And I consider it a crowded basketball game, but this is we're here as volunteers in a government capacity. So we should be a little more formal about it. That's all.
okay. All right, so now moving on, director and staff report.
all right. So I just.
I'm sorry, before you go on. So the steps that are gonna be taking place are Sheila is going
I'm
to
gonna-
read, go ahead, Sheila.
Tish, I'm gonna meet with Tish to find out what commissions are meeting in person versus who is still on Zoom.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'm gonna go to the Board of Health to find out what their stand is for where we stand and having meetings.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sheila.
All right, we're ready to move on?
Yep.
All right, so just a quick reminder that New Year's Eve fireworks are scheduled for December 31st, 7 p.m.
I have a ridiculous comment about the fireworks. And
Nice lead in.
yeah,
It'd be good.
wouldn't it be funny if we could, you know how people do these things, what do they call them, where you find out whether it's a male or a boy or a girl?
Reveal.
A reveal party. Wouldn't it be funny if we set up some chairs or something and then someone could pay some money or something like that to have the first set of fireworks that come out be, either pink or blue or whatever it is. I don't know. It was just kind of
You mean
something.
some pregnant person who happens to have timed it right so that the reveal would be around?
Yeah,
your-
exactly. Sorry, just
Advertise.
laughing. It's
Yeah.
it's a corny idea, but I wanted to throw that
Make
out there. I
some-
just
make
want
a buck
everybody
off
to,
them?
I want everybody to know that I'm as crazy as you think I am. So that's exactly right.
Is
So-
that gonna go on the minutes or is that
Yeah,
outside?
no, it does,
It's-
no.
I am choosing to ignore that one.
It's certainly recorded, so Paul, the
Mark,
internet never
we're
forgets,
back.
remember
It's-
that.
So
down.
if someone calls you, Rich, and says, I want to be on that reveal, you say, that Sari was pretty right on.
Yeah,
There
there you
you go.
go, very prescient. All
So
right,
anyways,
so just, I think that I just mentioned the winter programming. We are, so I'm not gonna hit too much more on this because it sort of came up already, but the schedule for our winter program is we'll have all of our programs finalized by the end of this week. Brochure production was like a 3-week process, and the goal is to have the brochure in mailboxes before Thanksgiving.
nice.
Okay, so we're well on our way, and so I feel good about that. And like I said, we've got some new ideas of programs, and I think we'll have a good, robust winter programming.
Do you, Rich, when's the actual schedule date? And do you, last time or 2 months ago, we talked about changing the registration dates for Westwood residents.
Yeah.
Versus out of town residents. Is that
Yeah.
something that would be in this booklet?
Well, so there's a couple things that still need to happen with that, Katie. First of all, I've mentioned it to Danielle that you may recall that it's something that I want to vet with Chris. This is something that his predecessor had the opposite opinion on, and just out of respect for the office of the town administrator, I just want to make sure and see where Chris is on that. The second thing that I need to do, and it's on my list, haven't done it yet, is to talk to the registration platform, the company that does the software, because right now there is no way to set it to automatically turn on for non-residents. So that means it would require us to go into every program and flip a switch, and that's a lot of work that we're additional work. It's already a massive amount of work to set up all the programs. Then we'd effectively have to go in and change the date for every program. So I've got to work with them to figure out what kind of solution we have. There may be functionality that we're not aware of because we've never used it. So I've got a little bit of work to do just to understand technologically how we can make that happen.
Okay, and then what's the date that people would register for winter?
I don't know if I have that date off the top of my head. I don't even know if we have set it yet. It's usually it'll usually be sometime the first week of December. Okay, and it will be somewhat, we don't want to set it too early because it is somewhat dependent upon our ability to get the brochure done, and sometimes for various reasons it could get delayed, and I don't want to have the brochure show up in people's houses a week after we open the programming. But generally speaking, it's the first week of December.
Okay.
Rich, quick question. What's the forum to bring ideas to you? Like I was speaking to some of the neighbors and a few ideas popped up. Do we email them to you or bring them up in this meeting?
Either or. If you want to bring them up in this meeting, you need to let me know in advance and we'll get it on the agenda. Or if you want to shoot me an email or give me a call, you can do that too.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so included in your packet, I put together some numbers for you. We about a week and a half ago, we put a survey out for just to measure folks' satisfaction with the summer programs. And I included that information in there for your review. Generally speaking, they were quite well received. If you take all of the programs and combine them all into one general score, the average was 4.3 out of 5. So, you know, there were a few programs that we had some issues with, but, you know, probably 75% of them were rated 4 or above, 4 out of 5. So what we did was 5 was excellent, 4 was above average, 3 was average, 2 was below average, and 1 was poor. And so, yeah, we had a very good response. At the time that I published this for you guys, there were like just shy of 400 responses. Since I published this last week, I went in again this morning and updated. We've got 422 responses, which represents about 16% of the individuals that participated in our programs.
Did any of the yellow change when you updated it again with your?
Actually, one or two of them. See, some, you know, statistics are a funny thing, right? So you can get 1 or 2 responses, and and you know, you get one person who has a good experience or bad experience. It could skew things. So some of these, you know, are you know, fall into that bucket, but some did. Yeah, we had 1 or 2 bump up into a 4 or above that were just under you know, 4.
Okay.
Last week.
So if a camp tennis that had 108 people, you only got one person that did a survey.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
So
And that person had some comments.
We're going to send out a chaser the end of this week, and with the idea of keeping it open for responses through the end of the month. So next meeting, I'll give you the final results. I just wanted to give you this call this preliminary.
Okay.
But I was quite pleased with it. It was not only in the number of respondents, but, you know, obviously the ratings that they gave us.
Summer camp did really well. Wow.
Up science is blowing my mind. I cannot believe it scored where it scored. Like when parents talk, that's like a cutthroat one to get into.
Yeah.
So to be in the yellow is mind-boggling to me.
Which
Yeah,
one?
you wonder if there's just a couple bad, you know, people with a couple bad experiences that just skewed it, and all the good just they didn't respond.
The other thing that I'll share with you, and it is that, so we the idea of doing this survey was to make it very easy, very quick. And I based this, again, we spent a lot of time talking about this in our internal meetings. And you know, like when I get a survey, I'm sure you all do the same thing. You get a survey, you went and, you know, I get surveys from PetSmart all the time when I take my dog there to get groomed or whatever. You know, they ask you one question and you answer it. And then it takes you to the survey and they start asking you a bunch of other questions, delete, because I don't have the patience to answer 10 or 20 questions about it, right? So we wanted to make it simple so that it would be really quick folks to respond to, so that we would get as many responses as possible, with the idea of getting their general impression. And so the first question was just, how did you rate your experience, 1 through 5? It was a mandatory answer. And then we asked 2 other questions. Do you have any, or what did you like the most about the program? That was optional. So if people want to expand, they can. What, do you have any suggestions for improvements? And again, optional. So if they want to type in some things, they can, but if they don't, they, because what I wanted to avoid was folks getting to a point where they don't have time. They have a quick minute, they'll do it, but if it takes too long, they'll delete it. And so we got a lot of text as well, a lot of optional responses, and a lot of the comments were very instructive. Some were less so, some things that were out of our control, like the weather. You know, it was hot this summer on a lot of days, and a lot of people had some comments about that. So we'll go through once it's closed, and we'll sort out the feedback and utilize that as we start making plans for next summer, which we'll be doing starting in December. So
I think it's great that you're offering to collect feedback from town residents that are participating in Recreation Commission or recreation activities.
Yeah, and we figured out a way to do it that was relatively easy. It was not onerous at all to do. So I think it's something that we're going to try to do after each season.
Great.
Okay. So like I said, I'll have the final numbers for you next meeting. But like I said, this is just preliminary. All right, let's see where. All right, so next in fields and facilities, just a quick update. I know for the longest time, one of the basketball backboards out behind the high school and the outdoor courts had broken. That has been repaired.
Rich, thank you. That was that was great. That was a great team effort that you pulled everybody together, because I know it's not a recreation responsibility. It was more of a school responsibility, and
Yep.
People in the neighborhood wanted me to pass on that appreciation to you.
Yeah, well, glad to do it. And
thank you.
Definitely Tom Carey gets all the credit because he did it. So, but happy to do what I can to help out there. And then next on the list is the pool deck retile. You may recall this was something that we put out for bid, in the bids I want to say in the spring. The bids came back very high, much higher than we were anticipating, much higher than the engineer's estimate was. We worked with them this summer to understand, was the bid spec incorrect? Were the bids correct? We finally got some answers, and we just are now back out to bid, and I believe they're due this Thursday. So hopefully we'll be able to move that project forward, and it will be done next spring in the March-April timeframe, after the winter swim teams have finished up, but before a lot of our spring swimming activities start. So there's a little bit of a lull at the pool. It will be closed for that time, so it'll probably be closed for 4 to 6 weeks.
Do we think that the bids are going to be smaller now that we're re-spec'd, or?
Well, I think that the bids were correct, and the estimate that the engineering firm gave us was incorrect. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little bit more money than we thought it was going to be initially. But we got 50 years out of that pool deck. It literally was the original pool deck. It was installed in 1972. So it's if you look at it, I mean, Sue Perry has done an amazing job maintaining that pool deck, and it looks terrific, but it's tired, and it's going to look amazing when it's new. And so it's definitely something that, you know, that facility, not every town has one of those. We're very fortunate to have one and have, you know, a town that supports it financially, because
Right.
pools are not inexpensive to maintain, but it truly is a great asset for the town. And this is, you know, we've put a lot of money into it over recent years. Of course, you remember most recently we had the HVAC replaced, and now the atmosphere. If you haven't been in it, I recommend you come down and check it out. The atmosphere, which used to be almost oppressive, is now very, very nice. And so we want to just continue to keep that pool. So it's worth it.
What colors are the tile? I mean, this is silly. Is it gonna be Westwood color tile, or is it gonna be the same tile as
No,
there?
it'll be a combination of like a sand color and 2 variations of blue,
Just
like
curious.
like a navy blue and a light blue. So, and which is the same as what it is now.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. That was the last thing I had.
Literally at an hour. This is under an hour. I'm very impressed.
Yeah,
Right.
perfect.
You're on a good, tight meeting, Sheila. Thank you.
There you go. The whip.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said,
Yeah,
my flight getting back from Michigan last night got in
Yeah.
very, very late. So I've got an appointment with my mattress right now.
so do we need also, all we have to do is confirm November 21st and then we can close
Yeah.
out?
But November 21st is the week of Thanksgiving. Is everyone around the week, that Monday? We're all good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I debated whether I would propose a week earlier, but then because we're away, we get in the night of the 20th, hopefully not as late as you. But then I realized I'm gonna be so busy at work the week before, you know, before I go away, that I'd rather do it on the right after getting back, I think.
Okay, so I'm proposing the 21st for the next meeting.
Perfect.
Okay, so with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Perfect, Teresa motions. Any second?
I'll second.
Mid-second, so motion to adjourn. Ann,
Proof.
perfect. Katie,
Approve.
Fuad,
Proof?
perfect. Paul,
Yes, approved.
Mitch,
Yes.
and Teresa.
Yes.
And I approve as well. So with that motion to adjourn,